Today we're joined by Nick Militello, co-founder of Omnipher and Promo Pigeon. He's building in the product space from rethinking everyday items with Omnipher to creating a new platform for personalized promotional products with Promo Pigeon, yes, the 5 Ps. And his path really stands out from the usual SaaS and AI startups that we see around UIUC. Nick, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you, Cole?
Good. I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us. It's cold all of a sudden outside. It snowed last night.
It's a pleasant surprise.
Pleasant? Yeah, I guess, yeah, it is pleasant, but it's always too soon, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll blame that for me not going to class instead of me just not wanting to go to class.
I'm also going to blame that for me not going to class today. But anyway, thanks for joining us. Let's just get started with sort of a origin story of you, right?
Origin story, okay.
So just a question here. So you've been building since high school, right? You started, my understanding is you started with fixing riding lawnmowers, right?
I did. You
yes.
did that.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Right. And so kind of if you can give a rundown of your story and where that entrepreneurial mindset really came from.
Yeah, 100%. It probably all stemmed from like my dad. My dad grew up, or when I grew up, my dad was running his business. It was a bathtub finishing business. Nothing like the AI startups here on campus, or even like the huge businesses you hear about on like TV. Local business. It was him and a couple employees. I grew up watching him do that. And although it wasn't always perfect for him, like in finding employees, keeping employees was always a huge challenge. There's something about it that I really liked. Like that idea of it's all in your control. I mean, a lot of it is in your control. You can take pride in what you're doing. You can see exactly what the outcome of your decisions are. That made me really get into it. So ever since a young age, I of course had that lemonade stand as a kid. I sold carp when I was really young. I think it was like 8. Yeah, I sold carp, the fish, to a fish hatchery. I had a little art website where I sold art that my dad put up. I think my only customer there, though, was my aunt. So I don't know if I can really count that one.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, in high school, I really got into like my first business that really made money and really made me see the potential of entrepreneurship. So like during COVID, when I was 15, I got my work permit right away. I really wanted to start working, start making money, but I couldn't. The whole job market, of course, shut down. So that, like many others, it made me explore the world of entrepreneurship. And I started fixing machines. I started fixing lawnmowers. I started fixing weed whackers, little things at first. Eventually, I moved my way all the way up to fixing like lawnmowers, boats, car at one point, all of that stuff. I was in the repair business for a little bit, switched to the more fix and flip model where we'd pick up broken lawnmowers in our local neighborhood for free. We'd fix them and we'd sell them on the used market. We did hundreds of machines in that. I hired a couple of my buddies as employees during high school. But I knew I wanted to do something like a little bit more scalable. Like if I'm going to do fixing lawnmowers in my local hometown, there's a cap to that. It can't be big and it can't, like your body's going to give out eventually. Like that was hard work and I wanted something where I could see myself doing it for a much, much longer time. There's also no real like exitability in that type of business. So I looked more into the product space. I made a little device that attached to your crutches. I had hip surgery, so I had facing the problem of having to navigate the world on crutches. Found that going up and down the stairs was a bit challenging, so I made a device that actually fit on your crutch. Basically assembled the 2 crutches so that when you go up and down the stairs, they act as 1 unit instead of 2. I only sold about 20 units of those. They're just 3D printed, but like a lady who tore her ACL, who's a professional bodybuilder, was actually one of our customers, and she wrote to me and was like, "Oh my gosh, this was so helpful in the gym. Thank you so much." Because I even made, because I was into the gym at the time, I made a little device that fit on your crutches so you could carry around a dumbbell. So that then you can move the dumbbell from the rack to your bench so you can still lift while you're on crutches. Definitely a very, very niche product, not a very big TAM, but it did solve a problem. Finally, I got into college. I didn't continue with the crutch business just because it wasn't a big enough opportunity. I tried licensing. I talked to one company, but there wasn't a big enough market for them to really mess with it. Came to college. That's where I started Omnipher my freshman year at 54, hosted by founders. Mm-hmm. That is really what kind of kicked it off. So I cannot say how like appreciative I am of the founders are. So of course I had that idea, but that competition is really what made me want to like start on it. Especially because it's an idea where I was a little bit hesitant for. When you look at me, I don't necessarily scream lip balm container company, I would say. So I was like, I don't know if I really want my brand image to really represent that, but that competition made me see that no one really cares. And, it's all about actually, like, making progress and just doing it. So I invented, I have it on me now because this is the one thing I put in my pocket because I figured it'd be a smart thing to have. It's basically a lip balm container that fits in your wallet. You know it, Cole, but for the people watching, the lip balm container that fits in your wallet, so it's very thin. This is a sample from our overseas supplier. Squeeze up the contents, pull out the applicator. Lip gloss on here because that's what our overseas supplier uses to test. Yeah. Personally, I don't use it, but it could be used
You don't want to put that on probably right now. But.
Yeah, that might make me look like I wear lip gloss on camera.
Yeah, pretty for the podcast, I guess.
Yeah. But I went through that. I've been working on that for the past over 2 years now. Product has been done for a very long time, but manufacturing has been a really big problem. We licensed our patent to a big promotional product supplier in New York. So fortunately for us, those big upfront costs that come with manufacturing are being burdened by our licensee, which is really why we switched to that business model to kind of offset some of our own risk. But it's still been a really big grind in trying to get everything working. Because when your initial, or like one of the big differences between physical products and SaaS is once you make the tooling, once you make the machinery to make your physical product, you can't just change it by deleting a line of code. It costs thousands of dollars to change something, and months or weeks, can be months of lead time to get that change in place. And it's really kind of out of your control. You're working with suppliers, you're working with different vendors, so you lose a lot of that control that you have with software. That's kind of why I really do like Promo Pigeon. It's me and 3 other guys, Kenny, Albert, and Anish. Like, they're amazing. Kenny is the lead on it, and Albert and Anish are the ones doing a lot of the day-to-day code of it. We basically do personalized mass mail. So we're partnered with actually the company that I'm licensing with. And basically what we do is if you're a company that sells promotional products, we make it so you can target those businesses that buy your promotional products. So if you're going to target dentists, you can type in dentists, a mile range, and a zip code, and whatever item you want to send them. Say it's lip balm. Then we'll make a custom label based on the logo of that dentist, and we work with our suppliers. We send them the imposed PDF with all the different labels. They print it, we send it out, and then the company, when they get the lip balm, they can scan a QR code, take them somewhere where they can order it right away, the exact one they just got in the mail. So we're actually launching that end of this month. We're facing a lot of issues with that too. Hosting has been a big problem recently. Kenny, if you see this, get hosting done, please. I really need that to be done. But it's an amazing team.
Shout out Kenny.
Yeah, really. No, Kenny's amazing. Anish and Albert too. Like we'll play poker on the weekends. Anish sometimes doesn't come because he's too burdened with all the other work he takes on. But Albert, he was up last weekend. So I'm proud of him. He's learning.
Yeah. Perfect. So actually, are you planning on pairing that with Omnipher then, Promo Pigeon, and like branding your containers basically for like U of I or whatever it may be?
100%. Yeah. So once Omnipher's like the container and everything we have fully set in stone with the manufacturing, we actually have units in hand. We'll do mass mail with Omnipher because really cool part is so a normal lip balm can be mailed for like $4.80 because it's over a 1/4 inch thick. Omnipher can be mailed for $1.23. Since we're thin, we can go as a letter instead of a package. So for any sort of mass mail application, Omnipher is a much better solution, or even if we're talking about like direct-to-consumer in the cosmetics industry. Before, your shipping cost was maybe half of your gross. Like, it's a huge percentage of your overall cost because, I mean, lip balms, lip gloss, they cost under $1 to actually manufacture. Lip balms can cost us under 30 cents. Cosmetics, of course, are a little bit higher, but it's a huge portion, that shipping cost. So if you're talking direct-to-consumer, you can have a much lower cost to then target them. So we'll go to the direct-to-consumer licensing route after we actually get the product made.
Yeah. Right. Okay, cool. And building off of that, like with Omnipher, what would you say is the difference between you and like an AI or SaaS startup, right? Why, a lot of founders lean towards that. And I think it's probably because it's an easier, entry point, right?
100%.
It's easier to iterate, as we've covered.
Yes.
But, what made you choose a physical product and what is it like building a physical product in place of a AI or SaaS startup?
Yeah, that's a good question. Ignorance. Me not knowing how much of a pain in the butt it is to make a physical product. No, not actually. It's kind of just where my skills were. Growing up, I never touched code. Like a lot of the kids at U of I, they've got parents in big tech or they've been coding for a long time. That just wasn't me.
Yeah.
So physical, like I grew up watching Shark Tank, of course. Like they don't really display SaaS. They show physical products. So that's kind of what I thought of. Like that is a scalable business model, physical products.
Yep.
And then you look at SaaS and you're like, okay, that's the real scalable business model with the 10x multiples at sale. So I didn't really know, but I think the big difference really where it comes in is how fast you're able to iterate. In the prototyping stage and when you're just looking at like 3D printing and quickly changing small tweaks, it is very fast comparative to like manufacturing. Of course, still not as fast as software. We can do it in Control-Enter or Shift-Enter, but you can still 3D print it with the modern 3D printing technologies. It's pretty good. Where it comes into challenges when you're looking at actually going into manufacturing, then you're coordinating between multiple different vendors, getting samples, not really knowing. Like I'm mechanical engineering, and unfortunately, because U of I is such a good research institution, we don't cover too much in the technicalities of manufacturing. And plus, mechanical engineering is just so broad. If we focused on manufacturing, we wouldn't be able to cover everything else we do in the curriculum. So I've had to learn a lot of the manufacturing things by myself, which is just a whole nother learning curve that they don't really have on like YouTube. And like if the one thing, the information they have on YouTube and the internet is very general. It's not actually what it is. Like so like a good example would be getting quotes from manufacturers. One manufacturer might quote you at 80 cents and one at 20 cents. And it might just be because they have machine space. Maybe they don't want your business. It's not something where it's like it's always a constant what you're getting quoted at. And especially as a small company, getting those manufacturers to like take you serious is a really big challenge because they're used to the small guy kind of screwing them over, not the big, huge players. Like the huge players, they'll give them small contracts or they'll give them big contracts and they might not make very little. They might not make very much per unit, but it's a constant contract.
Right.
When you're looking at small players like myself, it's like, oh, well, the market might not even like it. We're not going to have the business with this guy for a very long time. So... Yeah.
Like so they don't see the point maybe of working with you because it's not a long-term investment or it could not be a long-term investment.
It could not be. And it's a
like, risk.
It's also like it's just me on my company. It's like those other companies, they have a whole bunch of engineers and they're very much well put together. They know what exactly to send them. Myself, it's like you kind of have to teach me a little bit of what you want and work with me, which is not always what they want to do. But unfortunate enough, where some of the vendors are great. But we go through the manufacturer that our licensee uses, so it covers a lot of those issues that we faced in the beginning when we weren't going to do that. So that's a tip. Like if you're gonna bake a physical product, if you can partner with a bigger company, try to, because they just have that power with those vendors to where those vendors will then take you seriously.
Yeah.
Like we have 2 molds overseas in China for prototyping, and we didn't have to pay for either of them because of the relationship our licensee has with that vendor, because that vendor, they do millions of units together. So that one extra prototype mold that costs them maybe $1,000, if they were to sell it to us, it'd be like $5,000. But since it costs them so little, it's like, it's just cost of doing business. It's the relationship.
Yeah.
Things just take a lot longer.
Relationship is kind of everything.
100%. Yeah. And everything in business, honestly. Especially, when you look at my business model where we're licensing to one company, and this one company has like, it's not like a publicly traded company, so it has like the 1 or 2 guys that are really in charge, like they make the decision.
Yeah.
So it's like my relationship with them is really important. They've been amazing to me. Taylor, he's been amazing. I lived with him actually for 3 weeks this past summer.
Yeah.
In business, it's all about relationships. So it's like for the company I'm licensing to, it's always about how can I add value in different ways? How can I help? And in exchange, they help me get my market to the mass audience.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like even just in the startup space in general, teams are also very important, and that's people, right? Mm-hmm. So relationships with people is crucial in any startup space, is what I found. But
no, you're 100% right.
But anyway, do you have a co-founder for Omnipher?
At one point, I did.
You did? Okay.
And she was amazing. Okay. It's just unfortunately, not unfortunately, but the business just shifted to where it didn't make sense to have her skills a part of the company. Yeah. And there wasn't going to be anything for her to do. And we split off over a year ago now, and it's still the case where it's just been manufacturing. Me, of course, building a relationship with our supplier. There would have been nothing for her to do. And there was some issues where it's like, she was an international student, so working internationally is not held to a high accord by the U.S. government. So it's like once it became a real company, we're like, well, now we're gonna have to get a visa.
Yeah.
It's gonna become a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
But as an international person, you can still own a little bit of a company. You can still own part of it, and you can still get paid. It makes taxes a little bit more annoying, but that's kind of the route we decided to go down.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, even just with your co-founders of Promo Pigeon, how did you end up meeting them? And what would you say like complementary skills you have with them that kind of like, makes you guys work well together and move towards the mission of Promo Pigeon even better?
Yeah, the complementary skills part I think is really funny because so Kenny, kind of the lead developer, CTO, whatever you want to call, I met him through iVenture, the 10th cohort. He was originally on a company called Pathlet. Pathlet's doing very well, but Pathlet raised money. The founders involved needed to take a break from school just to continue with the workload. So Kenny decided to stay back and no longer a part of that company. But when I was asking him, hey, can you like help me out with Promo Pigeon and like interview these guys I'm interviewing as for like technical skills, because I personally do not have coding technical skills.
Right.
He was like, yeah, I'll do it. And like, hey, do you wanna maybe me to be a CTO? I was like, you know what, Kenny, I would love that because I have no clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So he came aboard, and then Anish was actually referred to by another one of my buddies that I met in iVenture called Aditya. He also runs a startup doing physical intelligence is what it's called, kind of out of my skill set, but it's kind of the idea of like neo robots that can do your chores in your day-to-day life. Anish was referred by him because they were on ISS together. And then Anish, I talked to Anish, interviewed Anish. He was like super, super talented, especially I interviewed him as a freshman. I was like, oh, you look like junior. Kenny was telling me, like, oh, yeah, these guys are like juniors here. So both Kenny and Anish and Albert are very technically solid, especially for their age. Yeah. And then Anish actually referred Albert because they were CAs together, and he has like they're CAs for like some CS class. And then I interviewed Albert. I was like, you know what, like if you already have a good relationship with him, and he's technically sound, why not?
Why not?
And it's been a great decision since. Yeah. All of them are very smart. Kenny, the reason why I laughed about the complementary skills is Kenny likes, like, I like to think very, let's do it all. Let's like, I would like to say I'm more grounded than like this typical like visionary CEO of like crazy. But I do definitely sometimes take on more than we probably should. And Kenny's really good at being like, no, we can't afford to be doing that. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I really value all of their opinions. And Kenny says that, you make you rethink and makes me like take it back a notch. Maybe we can't do all the things I said we could do on that sales call.
Right. Yeah. He balances you out,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I think for any like non-technical person with a group of technical people, your kind of job is to really make sure that the people doing the technical work have everything that they need, and that you're kind of conveying what your customers or business partners need to them, so then you can create the feature set. And that's kind of like, as a non-technical person, leave the technical stuff to your technical guys and trust their decisions. Like, I fully trust whatever Kenny says, as far as I don't even know, if I didn't trust, I don't know what I could do to, I could go get someone else to review his code, but it's like, I can't look under the hood and say, oh, that's not best code practices. So you really have to trust your guys.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. Yeah. Back to the people thing, right?
Yeah.
You had these connections with these friends and stuff like that, and then it just kind of led to something bigger with Promo Pigeon.
100%.
So that's pretty great. Okay, so I already kind of covered that. Let's see. So what do you think? What's something that you think founders in the product space understand that people with software experience might not understand, and vice versa?
Yeah, that's a good question. Give me a sec to think.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a complex one, but is there like some skills there that?
I think patience, when you're in the product space, it teaches you the virtue of patience with your suppliers, with it taking a week for you to get samples from your suppliers. For not all you can't, with a lot of the physical product stuff, you can't get answers online as easily as you can with some of the software stuff. So it's like reaching out to those people who have industry experience, like recently I went to a big packaging expo in Las Vegas because our overseas supplier said, "Oh no, you can't fill this container. It's impossible to fill this container this way." And like, I thought logically, like, okay, why? Like, I don't see why we're having these issues. So I went out there. I talked to 100 like industry professionals, got their numbers and all that stuff. And they're like, "No, we should." Either they're all trying to sell me, which is true, but I would imagine some of them would say, for the sake of myself, like, "Hey, you can't actually do that." But really, all of them said, "Yeah, we should be able to do this." And like, I've done some tests at home where it's like, "No, yeah, we can do it." So it's like that skill of you have to go reach out to those industry professionals when you're trying to bring your product to market. In software space, I'm sure that is also the case, but I think actual product development, you don't need it as much.
Yeah.
And then something that software guys in software know that maybe the physical products don't. I mean, there's the speed element. I think the big difference really too is the speed. At least like right now, I'm coming from the reference frame of manufacturing. Once you actually have your product, then you can like market really fast and you can expand fast.
Yeah.
But in manufacturing, it just takes a long time. So maybe the whole idea of speed of iteration in the software space, the guys in the physical space tend to move a little bit slower. The culture in physical products definitely is more like, at least you're dealing with people working 9 to 5s most of the time. Like your partners are people working in 9 to 5, so it's slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You mentioned briefly there, like you got denial on if this product would actually work, right? If you can fill it with the actual lip balm, right? How do you handle denial in a typical sense, and what do you what do you do to come back from it?
Yeah, with denial, it's definitely like most of the time there's other ways around it. So I guess my first thought process is like, I've gotten emails in the morning. Like, first thing I wake up, since it's like there's a big time difference between the US and China, where it's like, this product will never work. I think you should give up on this project from our supplier to our licensee. And it's like, oh my God, that is like, you start panicking. You're like, I just spent 2 years working on this. You're telling me after a year of working with you, we can't fill it, even though the hole that we're filling it through hasn't changed this entire time. You basically then have to just take a step back and think like, is this really like the end? And it's most 99% of the time, at least so far, it's no. It's like there are other ways to do it. It might cost more. It might take a little bit more time, but it's not the end of the world. Even like, so I was going to license to a different company before the company I'm licensing to now. I spent a week out at their facility, was building the relationship, get back to the state, or not to the States, they were in these states, get back to Illinois, and it's like, I call them, I hear crickets. I email them, nothing. And then a month later, they'll email me. So it's like, that was a denial. But then you just get back on it, and now I started reaching out to the other people in the industry, eventually landed with the licensee that I have now. And it's like with them, I'm talking to the owner like every other day. Like they sponsored a huge U of I promotional product design competition this past weekend. Like they're giving back to the things that I care about, and they're like giving me opportunities to further expand what I'm doing with Promo Pigeon, with us partnering with them. And I think that's kind of what you want. Of course, there is the flip side of that where now all of my eggs are kind of in one basket with this company. But I think we're at the stage where we're more than just business partners. Like I've built a relationship where it's like he's kind of a mentor at this point, where it's less transactional in a way. And if it did all fail tomorrow, I have no doubt that we'll find another company. I know so much more now than I did a few months. Well, maybe not a few is than a while ago, to where I'm fully confident now if the licensing agreement didn't work, that we could kick it up on our own. I could get orders and I could take it forward. But of course, that is not preferred by any means. So
yeah, that makes sense. Man, that sounds like a really great relationship that you have.
No, it is. And he's like,
you kind of struck gold with that one, but it took you a long time, right? You got to keep kind of pushing for it and keep reaching out and keep getting denied, but just stick it to them anyway.
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So, kind of bouncing off of that, actually, like, what are some of like the biggest mistakes or misconceptions that either you've made yourself or you've seen among other young founders, maybe at UIUC or elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, at least for myself, taking what the industry experts have to say, if you're only talking to a few, like to one or two, and taking what they say as the 100% truth, is not always the case. Like if you believe something should be able to be done, and only a couple industry experts in the sense of the people, in my case, it's manufacturers, are saying, no, it can't be done, and you think it can be, go get a lot more opinions and don't just take it, because if I would have gotten more opinions at the time when our overseas manufacturer said, no, this can't be done, we'd probably be 4 months ahead right now, because it took me so long of us running into even more issues on a different product line, because we have this thin one, but then we have to adapt it to make it thicker to be able to fill it overseas, but it's thicker then. It kind of defeats the purpose of fitting in your wallet. So then we went down that product development cycle, and we have that version that we can do, which should work in promo. But if I had just gotten more information about filling earlier and not taken what our overseas partners said as 100% the truth, we would be further ahead now. As far as just general mistakes, I think completely ignoring your social life as a founder is not the smartest move, especially when you're at a university with some of the smartest students in the world, because your social life now and the people you're friends with are potentially co-founders in the future, like with Kenny and with like Aditya, who's my friend. Although we're not founders, he referred one of my co-founders in Promo Pigeon. The relationships you make now, not necessarily in the business space, are relationships that can turn to the business space. And even if they don't, it's like, say you're really successful in your business. Say it all goes right. At the end, are you going to have, like, what's the point of having success and money if you don't have anyone to celebrate with and you don't have anyone to share the money with?
Right.
So it's like, build those relationships now in school. Don't be sitting at your computer every single night. Of course, work hard still, put in the long hours in the day, but on Friday night, on Saturday night, go have fun with your friends.
Yep.
Don't waste your weekend, go get plastered, and then, like, you can't walk the next day. But, like, you can take a break every once in a while. And maybe I'll eat my words if in a few years it doesn't work out. But at least I can say I'm enjoying my life more now, much more than I did in the years prior, where I was much more of the, I can't go out because I need to work. I can't go out at all because, and I don't feel like I'm getting any less done, but I am definitely much more happy than I was then.
Yeah. Well, I think, honestly, it's a balance of, if you keep your mental health in check, if you're keeping that social life
100%.
Fruitful while you're working on your startup, then the work you actually put towards your startup will be better in general. And you'll get more done in the hours that you put forth to doing that research and getting out there and talking to customers and all that stuff, right? I think they both need each other to coexist.
100%. Yeah.
That's my opinion. But I'm glad you said that. Because I completely agree. I agree.
There's just a lot of, like, this hustle culture, which I don't think is bad at all. Like, I think, like, yes, we should hustle in our early years, but it's also the best years. Like, your body ages, and it's going to get old eventually.
Yeah.
Like, enjoy the youthfulness now, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, people say these are, like, the best years
I hope
of
not.
life. You know, I hope not, too. I know, it makes me feel bad. Like, what do I have to look forward to then, right? Like, you better enjoy them while you have them because they're gone pretty soon. But
you turn 22, and
it's
all
just
downhill.
Yeah, it's
like,
just straight down. Yeah. So, okay, perfect. So let's go for advice for student founders. So in this manufacturing process, how could founders that want to manufacture find partners or early suppliers without capital or credibility? I mean, you mentioned partnering with a bigger company or something like that, but how easy is that? Because are they really going to want to partner with you if you have no establishment either? Like,
I mean, the partnering thing, you kind of have to have IP. Like, for us, we have patent.
Okay.
Or you can have similar product lines, maybe. Of course, there's a risk if you're going to a big company, they can just rip you off. And there's really nothing you can do about it because a lawsuit costs a lot of money. And I'm going to venture that most students don't have a lot of money to spend on a lawsuit. Yeah. Plus, the big company can just drain you in the lawsuit and not even come to a final conclusion. There's plenty of companies that will partner with small stage companies. You just have to be very respectful of them and their time and treat that like the engineers that are going to talk to you. You just be very transparent. Like, hey, look, I'm really just trying to figure this out right now. I know we're a small company. I know we're not going to have a huge order volume, but we're looking for a partner that can grow with us and who can be there with us. Most physical products will not be nearly as difficult as mine to get fully made because for us, we need to be under 35 cents a unit fully done. And because we're in the promotional industry, and then our initial order quantities are over 100,000 units. Most physical products, it's not going to be that case because you can afford, you have a little bit better margins. You're not in the promotional industry. And you can afford to do maybe that batch of 100 or 1,000 units with a couple dollars per unit. But we can't afford that. And then in addition, we have to do automated for filling. So the whole filling machine is another amount of money. We had to go into lidding film, which is like the film on yogurt caps. We had to order a big bulk of those. So most other physical products, if you're just making something out of plastic or sheet metal, it won't be nearly as challenging as in our case.
Okay.
And you can use tools like Protolabs or Xometry that are really good for that initial prototyping stage, like under a couple thousand units. Protolabs even has like a more advanced version that will connect you to overseas suppliers, but they have of course, their little ease of use tax on there, which depending on what your product is and if you have the margins to support it, might be fine for the ease. But it is physical products definitely is one of those things where it's not a one size fit all. Like I don't know anything about textiles, and that's a whole industry where I'm sure there's a whole different nuance of things. There's still MOQs and there's still, but there's probably not that upfront tooling cost like there is with injection molding, which is what we do. Sheet metal as well, you can do a lot of it manually initially, but if you want a whole line where it can like I forget what they're called, progressive die system. Those are even more expensive than injection molds by far, lower scale injection molds. So it really depends on what your item is, your quantities, and then also your assembly process. If you're estimating like $22 an hour for you to put it together, if you're going to use a contract manufacturer who basically like does that for you to assemble your product, they're going to have a very hefty we did this for you tax. so like for us, it's like, oh, if we did this in-house, maybe it'd cost 4 cents. Well, it's 20 cents for a contract manufacturer. So you keep that in mind when you're trying to estimate prices. Okay. And honestly, you're going to go insane if you don't just get quotes. Like you can estimate all you want, what you think your prices are going to be, but just go try to get some quotes. Call them budgetary quotes, where they're not real quotes, but they give you an idea of what it's going to cost. And then try to see if those budgetary quotes work. If they do, proceed forward with prototyping. So with injection molding, you get an aluminum mold. Then you get some units. Then go on to your steel molds for high production. But get that budgetary if it works with your business model. Great. If it doesn't work with your business model, maybe redesign, do a different business model, whatever.
So in other words, you should start that conversation with manufacturers earlier rather than later because you want to kind of develop that product that you have in unison with manufacturing standards.
100%.
Making sure you're on track, right, to be able to manufacture it at scale and all this stuff.
I mean, definitely make sure before, like, you make sure that you're building something that customers like and do the prototyping. Don't really care too much about the manufacturing other than, like, prototype manufacturing. But then, design it so going from prototype to manufactured design is a skill that we don't really teach here at the university. And it's very, very crucial. Like with injection molding with sheet metal, there's all these rules that you need to follow. Yeah. And if you make a design that's not going to follow those rules, without the advice from your manufacturer, they're just going to tell you, hey, no, we can't make this. Yeah. But then if you work with them, they can tell you, hey, there's these rules. For general design, there's quite a few good like PDFs from manufacturers that'll teach you like, hey, for sheet metal, you can't have a radius on a corner more or less than this much. Injection molding, you have like standard like wall thicknesses, draft angles, a whole bunch of other niche things. But there's plenty of resources to design for manufacture online. It's just they're not always a one size fit all. But if your product can fit them, use them.
Okay, perfect. Would you, if you had to go back, if you went back to freshman year and you had the choice to, do Omnipher all over again, or maybe go with something more like Pigeon? what would you do? Would you do it all over again? Would you still be in the product space?
That's a really good question. I think where I am right this second, yes, because I'm very confident that we will get to market at scale. Might not be perfect, but I'm very confident we will get there. If you would have asked me that a year ago, I would have probably said, no, I'm going to software, or I'm doing something else. Not to say software is easy. It's not at all. It's just, it doesn't have that huge upfront cost. And like, you can't, with physical products, like, okay, I made this thing. People like it with prototyping. The past year, I haven't been able to really sell to anyone because I can't make the dang thing. And that's just really frustrating.
Yeah.
Software is not as much of the case. Of course, they still have their nuances. But I would say right now, yes, I would. And I think just naturally, my skills do align more with the physical product space. So I probably will have companies in the future that are still in the physical products. But with Promo Pigeon, it was one where it's like I really wanted to try the software. And I do like it, but it's one of those things where I like it because of the team, not necessarily because of the product.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think is next for you? If you see, Omnipher or Promo Pigeon in a year, like where do you think you'll be in a year's time?
In a year, probably still working on manufacturing. No, if I'm still working on manufacturing in a year, I said that last year though, and here I am today. We should be in market late Q1, I would like to say, with Omnipher. It really depends on which route we go with on the filling machine. Some of these filling machines cost $165,000, but can make a really low per unit, but they take 6 months to develop. Others, much less, but it has a higher per unit and lower lead time is what they call it. But we should have, within a year, we should definitely be fully in market with Omnipher. The whole industry should know about it because we're licensing with one of the biggest, especially in the lip balm industry, one of the biggest suppliers in the promotional space. Whole promotional industry should know about it, and then trickle down effect. Eventually, anyone who's getting promotional items should know about it. We had one supplier estimate that within 1 to 2 years we could be selling 4 to 5 million units. I think we can do even better with that with our current supplier. We'll see. With Promo Pigeon, we launched this end of this month with our supplier, and we'll see where that one goes. It's really hard because there's another big company that does something similar, but like as an internal tool where we're building it more like as a SaaS solution. They have pretty good conversion rates. We'll see if we can get better. And even if we match their conversion rates, we'll still do pretty well. But we'll see. Because it's also one of those things where Anish and Albert, I don't know how much they're going to want to. I think they want to definitely finish their education. I as well, just to please my mom. And I think my dad would get hit by my mom if I didn't. Because he kind of has that entrepreneurship. He's kind of where the entrepreneurship comes from.
Okay. Yeah.
But I definitely want to finish my education, so it's like, we'll probably keep it as a lifestyle brand until then. I don't think it's a business where it'd be raised. So within a year, a couple more industry partners, and then see where we go from there. We got to really see what the launch is like for me to be able to make more vast predictions.
Yep.
But we have a tool that I think that people will definitely enjoy.
Yeah. Okay. Last question.
Okay. Make it good.
Yes. If you had to give one piece of advice to your freshman yourself, starting your first business, not your first business, but your real, like, big scalable business, right? What would it be?
Definitely, like, meet as many people as possible in school and build those relationships. Like I touched on it before. Build those relationships. Like those are what's gonna matter within a few years. And it's like, take that time, go to the socials, help your friends, like have a good time in the process, but like build those relationships now, because if you think about it, once you graduate college,
build those relationships.
Yeah. Once you graduate college, it's like if you're a founder, at least you're gonna go and maybe you're gonna go to SF. And you can still build all those relationships, but I think there's a different atmosphere. In college, I think college is a really good time to build those friends that you can have for a really long time that have similar interests as you. And it's like also after college, everyone's going to go get jobs, or most people are going to go get jobs. And now they've scattered across the U.S. And how are you, like, your only people that you're really interacting constantly with are your coworkers.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you didn't build those friends in college or in high school or whenever, and now your only people that you're constantly in contact with are your coworkers, and say your coworkers don't want to be friends with you, they're like 40 and you're 20. It's like, where are you going to meet those other people? In addition, like, what are the odds that you're going to meet people with your like interests? Like, founders, although we're in the Founders RSO, we're seeing a lot of founders here. It is a very niche community. And so the odds that you're just going to meet people like yourself out in the world, if you're not in SF, are pretty low. So I think invest in those relationships right now.
That's good advice. I agree.
I try.
If somebody wants to find you or follow your journey, where could they find you?
Yeah, probably reaching out would be like nick@omnipher.com, OMNIPHER.com. Other than that, I don't really post on social media, so you won't see much there. But if I'm more than happy if anyone has any like manufacturing questions, I'm happy to try to help as much as I can. Or if you're interested in the promotional product space, also happy to help. If you're interested in poker, maybe come to one of our games. But,
Cool.
We keep it low buy-ins. We're not degenerates. It's really for the social aspect. It's like I'm hosting those just so I have an excuse to get people together on the weekend so we can all just talk. And half the time after the game's over and I've lost all my money, we talk. And that's really where the fun part is. I went on like a 20-minute philosophical discussion with Albert and Nish actually it was way longer than 20 minutes. We just talked at the end. It was like, this is why I do these type of things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, that is it for today's episode of Founders Archives. Until next time, stay curious. Thank you, Nick.
That was awesome.
That was good. That was great.